Hey everybody, check out the bug damage on this old American Torrey. It's a hollow ground, not very hollow ground, maybe half hollow with a barber's notch. But we're going to take some charcoal and epoxy. I found that to make a perfect midnight black, like tar, like I'm making pitch or something. So you'll see the process of how I do that and how I fill in that bug damage. The purpose here is to save this razor from oblivion, to make it usable again. So we'll see if we can. So I started out with a video that was over 30 minutes long, and cutting out all the unnecessary things and the camera swipes and the weird angles and just the repetitive motion of probably 30 minutes or plus. 35 minutes is only the time that I had recorded. But editing out a lot of the repetitive motion got down to a video that's this length, which I'm still happy with. Look at that black tar-like epoxy. So now we're going to fill in the bug damage of this old razor. See if we can't save it. I will warn you, this is going to be a messy process. It's not going to be perfect. It's just going to be fun. And you know what? It's going to take this razor from being unused and damaged to being usable. A vintage piece that is stable and ready for another 100 years. Really, that's what I'm shooting for with this epoxy, with this work, is to stabilize the razor so that it doesn't chip and break and keep getting hurt, like all of us. I think we all need a little bit of stability in our lives. But it's easy to get philosophical when you're alone working on something like this. Yeah, there's something about saving an old piece of history. This Torrey razor, I'd put it probably in the 1930s or so, around the same time as this music that you're listening to, and it was forgotten. It's dull. It's bug eaten, and the gold lettering is wearing off. But if it can be saved, it can be useful again. And there's something personal about that. I think we can all feel that at a certain point in our lives we've been a little bug eaten and forgotten. And there it is, filled. When that epoxy hardens, then it'll be ready to trim. Now this knife I'm using, you guys, I think I've mentioned it before, but it was a knife that I had made for me from a guy in Delaware. Actually, the same guy who made my razor from a knife maker. He made me this neck knife that I carry around. And I've told this story so many times, but when I grew up in Alaska, and my sisters are still there, still have family up there. And at one point my sister was visiting me. She held out her hand and said knife, and me and my brothers didn't have knives on us just at the time. And she was like, really guys, really, Alaska, they're pulling out Bowie knives and fillet knives and buck knives, and none of my brothers have a knife. Anyway, my sister shamed me into always carrying a knife. Ow, that hurt, and I was worried about it. It's fine, everything's fine. Please believe me that this will end up okay. This will be all right. There are several things I could do here to make this easier. First, probably not use cardboard to put it in there. I could have probably used either less of it, not put it all the way down into the scales. No Name Bear, probably upset with me because he's very good at making scales. I could have drilled out that brass pin, the end pin that holds those together, then spread them apart, and then sanded the paper out. But I did not want to change anything that could be avoided with this razor. I wanted to keep everything as original as possible. So you see me slicing off chunks there. That's epoxy. That's just epoxy. And then I'm going to sand it down to remove even more and get it so the blade sits nicely. And all the paper ended up coming out just fine. I didn't want to take out that brass pin, and I didn't. So this Torrey razor is going to maintain its integrity as much as it can and get shaveable again. And here it is, stable again. There's a little chip on the end there that I chose. I think I'll just leave that one there. It's not dangerous at all. It doesn't seem to be delaminating or chipping off any more than it already is. So we're just gonna leave it alone. So I clean up the epoxy mess, and after sanding, we polished it. But just having it stable is a big step. Like having the epoxy in the bug damage, because you saw that the horn was so thin, you could see through it. The light was coming through it, and that stuff chips off really easily. So getting it polished, getting the epoxy in there, and then was a big step all by itself. But now we're going to polish it, and then we're going to hone it. Yeah, so this razor had some tape residue on the back of it, because who knows how many antique stores and pawn shops and being sold to yard sales, I don't know, probably hundreds over the past 100 years, but I got it off of eBay, but it had a little bit of tape residue that just came off fine with the polishing stone, or not the polishing wheel. You can see the Old English razor. In the past, I have used like a gold paint marker and filled in that Old English razor lettering and then sanded the face so that it looks good. But the paint I didn't think was permanent enough, and I didn't know how to like glaze over the paint or to use actual gold lettering of some kind, and I didn't want to half-heartedly do some kind of work that ends up rubbing off later. So I left it the way it is, showing its age, half filled with gold lettering, half empty. But now we're going to go to the stones. There's the 3-in-1 oil. First I assess the blade for any chips or bumps or flatness. So this is flat and it looks pretty good. It's actually flat all the way across the stone, but striking it across my nail, there's some at the heel, and then there was a big chunk or a chip, sorry, not a chunk, out of the toe. So we're going to have to level off the blade. And honestly, this razor here was thin enough. The Torreys always kind of came smaller, maybe 5/8, but the amount of metal I have to take off of this razor to get those chips out probably means that this is the last restoration job of this razor. So if whoever gets this razor takes care of it, it can last 100 years. But if they don't, then it'll rust, it'll get chipped, and then it'll just lose so much metal it probably won't be worth restoring again. But by Jove, we're going to do it this time. There's that chip out of the toe you saw, and we're going to save this razor for many, many more happy shaves. Yeah, I cut a lot of footage out of this, of honing it and taking it down and then honing it more. But in the end, it's just smooth all the way across the nail. So it's ready to actually begin the hone now. Working after trying to restore the blade, now we can actually start honing it. So that other side of the stone was 400 grit diamond stone, and this one is a 600 grit diamond impregnated stone, and I'm starting to get an edge on this bevel. You do the 3-finger test. It's always funny when somebody picks up your razor and then they test it like a knife, and they're like, I mean, if you run your thumb across it, you're just gonna slice it open. So you do the 3-finger test, and if it feels like the razor is going to, if it's catching on your fingerprints, that's a good sign that you're getting where you want to be. And then at the end, when it's polished and like ready to shave your face, it's actually scary. You do the 3-finger test, and it's like you don't push anymore because you can feel that it wants to bite into the skin. Razors are the sharpest thing you'll have in your house. You can see they're starting to get more. It's still that dull metallic look to it, but hey, we're getting there. Historically, the J.R. Torrey Razor Company manufactured straight razors from about 1850 to the end of World War I. It initially imported high carbon and steel razors from Sweden, but by the 1870s, Worcester, Massachusetts, where the company was based, had become a steel manufacturing center, and J.R. Torrey Razor was one of its most prominent firms. The company's success made the Torrey family one of the wealthiest in Worcester. They were the first to own an automobile and one of the first to have a telephone, though they soon removed it because the only other person in town with a phone was the butcher. After the war, however, America's love affair with straight razors began to wane as many people switched to safety razors. Joseph Torrey, the second generation of Torreys to lead the firm, couldn't transform the company to make cheap disposable blades. He was too preoccupied with flying. He held the 5th private flying license ever issued in the U.S., speculating in the stock market and other escapades. He was too busy doing that to manage the company. By the time he died in the early 1960s, his sister, Marion, had to rent out rooms in her house to students to make ends meet. And this information was from a website called the Torrey Factory Lofts. So they are renovating the J.R. Torrey Razor Company's warehouse to make apartment buildings, which would actually be a pretty cool place to live. You guys saw me use the Arkansas Blackstone as a finishing stone, and here I am on the green polishing strop before I flip it over to bare leather. And you go so lightly, go very lightly back and forth. Yeah, the more fine and refined the blade becomes, the lighter and lighter you hone or polish with it. And here I'm trying it even dry on the skin, and the hairs just pop off. It's really great. I'm excited to try out this razor. So there we have it, a stable and polished J.R. Torrey from Worcester, Massachusetts from about 1930. Even though I had to take off quite a bit of metal, you guys saw there, it is restored to be beautifully shaving sharp and still showing its age, but it is stable. So please consider liking the video, subscribing, watching other videos, and as always, happy shaving.